Allison Rosen. Allison Rosen is your new best friend. Allison, with her good times never end. Allison Rosen, doing the wavy pencil dance again. Allison's your new best friend.
Hey everyone, hi, hello. Welcome to another exciting episode of Allison Rosen is your new best friend. I am here in the studio virtually with, you know her from MTV News, Cribs, all sorts of MTV things, but also Add to Cart, Uncared For, and on set with, please put your hands together for SuChin Pak.
Thank you.
Hello.
Thank you.
Also joining us, producer Tony Thaxton.
Hello, it's drop roulette time again.
Hell yeah.
Oh my God, that was a good one. A regular one that we hear often.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I was a guest on Add to Cart a while ago, which is...
I mean, if not our first.
Oh my God.
One of our firsts.
It was that long ago?
I think so.
It may have been. I think it was smack dab in the middle of the pandemic. And then you and Kulop were on my group show, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. But ever since then, I've been like, I should have you on. Because I've had Kulop on by herself. And then I was like, I got to get you on to really peel back the layers and find out all about you.
Yeah, it's nothing there. It's just slime.
I refuse to. You have children though, right? How do you, what's your policy on slime? Because I try to avoid it as much as I can.
There's so much slime. There's so much slime being bought, made, and sold. My daughter just made $13 selling slime to her friends at a school holiday bazaar.
Wow.
And it was, listen, I haven't been to a Taylor Swift concert.
Mm-hmm. No, I haven't either.
But I feel like that's kind of a mini version of what was going around, what was happening around her Zoe slime stand.
Wow. So it was like a bit of a sensation, and it
sold
turns out that everyone you know is in it.
Yeah. Yeah. Didn't buy enough, like just on and on. She's 10 now. So I thought, you know what? She's 10, but she's very preteeny, you know?
Right.
And so I was like, so she's like, trying to get me to buy her skincare at Sephora. You know what I mean? Like my girl is like one of those people, those kids that were trying to get kicked out of Sephora. And so I thought, okay, she may be over this. And it's like, there's no end in sight.
Maybe she's like the bridge between, tween is what, 11 and 12? She's like,
like right before, So
she's like kid, teen, slime.
Slime, that's the Venn diagram. I just took her to, we took a big family trip, first time with the kids to Korea.
Oh, wow.
And there was only... things that I searched the most when I was there: hash browns, that's my son, and slime cafes.
Do they have a lot of slime cafes and hash brown?
Apparently, they don't have enough of either one, because my life was pretty hellish on that trip, and I vowed never to return to my homeland with my children.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, she's just like, it's slime central here.
Wait, why? I have a few questions. Why was it so hellish with your kids, the trip? I mean, I do have kids of my own, so I understand how awful it can be. I'm just wondering if it was awful in a specific way.
In the most specific and in the most non-specific. In every way possible, it was... I mean, look, did we make lifelong memories? Are my children forever altered? Mm-hmm. If you ask them what their most favorite trip of all time was, would they say Korea? All those things are true. And it was hell. My son vomited the entire way there. He's never been on a plane that long. I didn't know he had motion sickness or air sickness or whatever you can get from a long flight. As I said, he only eats hash browns. So, I mean, not breakfast potatoes. He'll do French fries, but it's really a hash brown. And I'm going to tell you, a hash brown, not a giant menu item in South Korea.
Right.
Would say that's a very difficult request. And then, Zoe and her slime cafes, like, because it was so hot, we went in the summer. My kids aren't city kids. They're little orchids that are growing on the hills of Santa Barbara. They don't walk. You know what I mean? They don't sweat. The temperature is always cool to breezy. And we were trying to pound the pavement in one of like the most hectic cities in the world in summer. And she's just like, shopping mall, slime cafe. So, it was all those things. And I won't be doing it again for a long time.
We have similar children, it sounds like. What goes on?
Can I ask a quick question as a person that doesn't have children?
Mm-hmm.
What's a slime cafe?
Thank you. That was actually my question.
Wow, Tony, very good question. I mean, it doesn't take much imagination. It's a cafe that instead of ordering coffee and treats and whatnot, they have a wall of slime. And Tony, there are an infinite number of slimes. There's cloud slime. There's cold slime. There's, I don't even know all the terms. You know what I mean? Then you've got the add-ons. You got the toppings, as I like to call them. I don't know if that's what they're called. You can add things to them, and then you can add texture to them. And then you sit at this little table. You mix the slime that you want, and there's little helpers with aprons on. And they help you and blah, blah, blah. And then you get to go home with a jar of goo that is more expensive than most pairs of shoes any of us own. You've killed about 20 minutes and you only have 22 and a half hours left to count down till the jet lag sleep comes. So that's a slime cafe. And I don't know that I know that they had a bunch, when slime was like, do you remember they used to have those museums? Slime museum, popcorn museum, ice cream museum.
Oh, yeah, kind of. Yes. Yeah. Yes, I know. I remember the craze because they would be these big Instagram events and it would be like, here's a picture of me inside a gigantic tub of sprinkles.
Yeah. So I don't know if they still do like slime cafes, in America, but in Korea, apparently it's a big thing. It's a hot tip we got from a friend of ours who has kids around her age. They're also obsessed with slime. So then she became like that. She couldn't wait to go to the slime cafes in Korea.
Does she play with the slime when she gets it home?
Yeah. I mean, she has so much slime in her room and they're all in different tote bags. So, she rotates them in and out. Sometimes, she feels like a red bottom shoe and sometimes she feels, like a mohair calf boot, it's just so much slime is in her room and there's no rhyme or reason, but sometimes she just rotates them in and out. She does play with them. I mean, to be honest, like I'm not keeping too close of a track because I just like throw them in and shut the door and hope to dear God that it's not sticking to a surface that I can't get it off of. But they're pretty sophisticated about at least at 10. Mm-hmm. We've got past the phase of where I have like Elmer's glue stuck to all of my tabletops. She's like, it's real chemistry and she knows how to handle it and she doesn't want me to touch it because there's a way to handle slime.
I
don't know if you guys know that.
No, I'm getting such a slime education because
there's a way to handle slime and you and you have to know how to do it. Otherwise the slime sticks to your hands and you can't get it off or it starts to disintegrate. So like there's a way that she pulls it and swings it. I mean, it's crazy.
I am realizing that maybe the reason that I've always hated slime, don't tell your daughter I said that, I just don't care for it, is because I'm handling it wrong. Because I think of it as viscous and like, it's like the worst kind of snot. Like, why would I want to play with that?
No.
And I don't want my kids to have, they have a fair amount of slime kits and things, but I always,
ask them about that. Cause that was it's been an education, let's just say. I didn't know that in this latter half of my life that, you know what I mean? That I'm pretty much, I'm open for TED Talks and conferences at this point.
Right.
I've learned so much about slime. Mm-hmm.
You're a slime expert, an unwilling and unwitting slime expert.
Yeah. And I get sucked into it though. Cause I like to collect things.
Oh, what do you collect?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not like one of those, like Tony, it looks like you are like a true collector.
A nerd. Yeah.
Okay. A nerd. She is silent. Yes. But see, you've got display cases, you got shelves. Mine are just like, in drawers somewhere. I don't know what I'm less of a collector as I'm looking at my Christmas village that is now growing so big that I have to figure out a way to put it on another 8-foot table. Meaning I have to add another 8-foot table to it.
Right.
I don't go too hard, too crazy because I lose interest, but I get into things for like a minute. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And so slime is very easy to get into because it's everywhere. Like there's this, you got to YouTube this company called OG Slime. And it's two girls, two young women, and they drop a slime like, I don't know, like let's say on Thursday, and then it sells out. And you'll never get that slime again. And people are crazy about it. And the slime themes are anything from, they could be, they're a bit adult and sophisticated. Some of them, like, drug related maybe.
Wait, what does that mean? Like there's little pot leaves in it?
Yeah, it'll be named after like weed strains or something like that. And then the one I got for my daughter, she won't know the reference, but do you remember, of course, when the great Kamala Harris was running, the whole cat lady thing was going around. So that week they dropped a cat lady slime, and it's slime with a bunch of tiny little paws that almost are like sandpaper. Like the paws
cute.
Are like covered in like a text. And so the slime, when you touch it, it's
like a whole sensory thing.
You can get really into it, and adults are really into it, and like they can get quite sophisticated. So for a minute, I was really getting into it. I was just like, wow, this feels crazy.
Akin to my sister's interest in Lush products and bath bombs.
Not still.
I don't know if I haven't checked in on her bath bomb situation lately. No, this was more like some years ago. Yeah. It was like a whole thing. And there's people who are very passionate about their bath bombs.
I can't believe that those stores are still open.
I know.
It's so shocking. You're the first person I've ever heard that actually knows someone that is a Lush consumer.
She's probably keeping them open. I know. And I personally have never walked by a Lush store and thought, yes, I'd like to go in.
Yeah, that smell is not.
No, I don't love it, but they love it. And Lush will do, what am I doing an ad for Lush? No, they'll do like similar to the OG Slime girls. They'll do drops where it's like, and you have to like get on your computer at whatever time to get the limited edition of this thing that smells not very good. Anyway, okay. There's a lot of stuff I want to ask you about. But first, I have to ask you guys this because this has just happened. It is fresh in my mind. I need some feedback. Okay. I'm in the studio getting set up for the show.
Yeah.
And my husband comes in and he says, can you come with me? I want to show you something. Which, now, like, it's either going to be...
It's not going to be good.
It's something, or
it's not like he's like, I bought you this diamond necklace and I want to make sure that I got the length right.
Yeah. It's either going to be, I don't even know, something that's like the thing that happens before he tells me we're getting a divorce, like something bad. Or maybe it's like a misdirect and it's going to be like a car with a giant ribbon on it or something. But whatever it is, I don't need the element of surprise. Like,
Yeah.
can you come with me? I want to show you something.
No.
Is like when a boss says,
Close the door.
or can you come on a walk with me?
Yeah.
Or can we talk later?
Yeah.
I need to talk to you for a few minutes later.
Talk later.
So, Tony, what's your feeling about what it was going to be?
What it was gonna be? His tone made it sound negative.
Yeah, it was almost like I thought he was going to show me like something I left in the refrigerator that was growing fuzz or something that involves an element of shame.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Anyway, go ahead.
I'll just say it was dog poop related.
It was actually. It was. He was scooping up the dog poop, and there was some. Have you guys ever seen this? Do you have dogs, SuChin?
I do have a dog.
Okay. It was white poop, like poop that was blanched of all color. It looked like cauliflower.
Wait, because it had been sitting out for a while. It came out like that.
It came out like that. And here's the thing: we have 2 dogs.
Okay.
So I'm like, just take a picture of it and send it to me. And he's like, okay. And I'm like, or should we just take it into the vet as like a stool sample? I don't know. Given that we don't know which dog it is, though, I don't necessarily know how helpful that would. I mean, I guess it'd be good to know one of them has some kind of problem. He had Googled this. Oh, this is the second time we've seen this. And I forget what it indicates. I don't know if it's like a liver thing or it was something where I was like, oh, well, we should keep an eye on that. But yeah, I just feel like, why not say to me, I need to show you some dog poop. Why the suspense?
I don't think for him it's a suspense.
No, but for me, it was like it was like I was being arrested. I really feel that I went on an unnecessary emotional roller coaster because his tone was grave.
Yes,
but it was, I'm not accusing him of anything, but it felt like a power play. Like I feel like that's like a cop.
It is.
Yeah. Between him and my dog pulling a power play on me. Mm-hmm. Anyway,
I guess the thing about that too is that like, when is the last time you ever said that to anyone? I've never uttered those words to an adult human being in my life.
I have never. I'm trying to think if I ever.
I know. That's why I think that like, I don't want to say it's just there's a lot of that kind of dynamic, I feel like, in straight marriages and relationships where
I guess so.
Yeah, it's like it's a lot of like, come with me, let me show you something. Yeah. Because it'd be different. The difference is, oh my God, Allison, you have to see this.
Yeah.
Then I'd be like, ooh, show me.
Right. Or I'm worried about something with the dog poop. Right. Can I show you this or whatever? Yeah. I'm trying to think if I've ever said this. I think I'll say to him, can you come here for a second? I need your help with something. Mm-hmm. And I guess that has suspense, but it's clear what the role is going to be. This was like, he may as well just have rubbed my nose in the dog poop, Tony, do you say this to your girlfriend? Can you come with me? I want to show you something.
He's like, yeah, I just said that this morning.
I feel like I probably have, but it would only be in a positive context, I think. Like maybe I did have some kind of surprise or something. Guy.
Yeah.
Come on.
What a good nerd.
Good nerd. So to the audience, 2 things. 1, don't do that to someone. Don't say, can you come with me? I want to show you something. Unless it's like, I built a new wing onto the house, the one that you wanted. Or like, look at this. I don't know.
Even then, you can say, I can't wait. Come, I have something. I have a surprise for you.
Yes.
Or, I want to show you something.
Yeah. Yes. And the second thing is, do you know what white dog poop means? Let me know. Because I could go to the vet, and I probably will. But we have found, we used to go to, so for people who know the location, no locations in SoCal, we live in Burbank, and we used to go to a vet in Brentwood, which is very, very far. Yeah. It's all the way across town. And then some. Now we found a vet in Burbank. They're very close. They're very good. They are unbelievably expensive. So I don't want the cost of care to affect the care, but it is. So for something like this, I will turn to the audience. Just let me know. Do I need to take action? What's going on? Okay. So
They're going to
SuChin,
need to see pictures, Allison, so you'll have to post that.
I have pictures.
You're going to
and
put
one
that
of
right
them-
on the grid, not stories, just
No, this
homepage
is this
grid.
Yeah, this one made it to Maine. Not the state, Tony. Maine is what we. Just kidding. I know you know Instagram. And then one of the pieces. I didn't know what noun to use to describe the poop. One of the pieces had like black lines on it,
Oh,
almost as if it had been on a grill or griddle. It was very strange. It might have been grass. I don't know. I literally said, "What is that black stuff?" You know what? No one tuned in for this. Okay, so I was reading a bit about your bio.
uh-huh.
You did not set out to be a TV personality,
No.
correct?
So
how
does
did-
anybody? I guess so. Yeah,
Oh,
sure.
I think some
I
people
think people do. Yeah,
I think
maybe people.
I feel like maybe Maria Menounos did. Don't you think maybe?
I mean, she's very good at it. I mean,
She's so
it's
good, and
Like
she
some
did-
people are just you just know are born to do something. So I have to imagine that this gift was bestowed upon her quite early in her life.
She worked at Dunkin' Donuts in Boston. She did Channel 1. So somewhere between Donuts and Channel 1, she was like, it's been ordained. I will be on television. But you, according to what I read, like twice, they're like, we're putting you on television. You have you have it, girlfriend. You have that thing, that quality. So how did it all happen? How did it start?
Well, yeah, I mean, it started when I was in high school, and I was like doing like a local teen show in the Bay Area called Straight Talk in Teens, apostrophe N. Where we would talk about,
Was the apostrophe before the N or after
Yes.
or both?
It
Before?
was before the N. And
Okay.
again, I don't know if that's grammatically correct, but that was like cool. And it was like, I can't remember, but there's a vague recollection of like a graffiti vibe.
Yeah,
You
no,
know? I mean, this was in the,
sure.
in the 90s. So, and how I got that job was not because I wanted to be on TV, but because I was a good nerd and I was part of like youth in government. Which
Oh,
was
yes.
like, do you
I did
remember
that too. Yeah, I did the two, we would have like two meetups in Paso Robles and then we'd go to Sacramento and I got
Yes.
sick. So I never made it to Sacramento,
Oh.
but I had done the stuff before that.
Yes.
Did you do, courts or what were
Okay,
the two
so-
things you could do?
So my best friend did the courts, and I was like, I don't have no interest in this. I don't know what this is. It sounds scary. And she said, no, but at the end of the year, we get to stay in a hotel in Sacramento, like just us. I mean, there's teacher chaperones and stuff like
Right.
that. And she's like, you have to come. It'll be so fun. And so I was just all about, let's go to Sacramento. And so the only job that was available at that point, because I had joined so late, it was last minute, they decided they were going to do like a youth in government, like in hotel news room.
Oh, cool.
Where like, I would report on like, okay, today a law passed. Now, Tony, I don't know, like this is pretty deep dive nerding, but youth in government was for kids who were really excited about learning about government. And so we would take over Sacramento for a week. It'd be a mock government. So we'd elect senators, and there was like, a state Supreme Court, all of these things were happening. And so anyway, I did that. I don't even remember. It was not, I can't even remember if I enjoyed it, what I did. It was just about that trip to Sacramento. And
So
like,
was the only trip that you went on the Sacramento one? Did you
Correct.
not do? Okay. Had she done they called it
she
Camp
did the
Bob.
she
Okay.
did the whole thing.
It was, got it.
Yeah. And I don't know how I got on the last minute, whatever. So, and then the local news station came and they were like, oh, look at all these kids. They're so great. They're doing this thing. And randomly I got one of those like man on the streets, know. And-
They interviewed you. You mean?
yeah, about it. And I guess I must talk. I don't, vaguely remember this. And then it was like a year later, that same producer called and she said, well, we're doing this teen talk show. And we only want real teens from the Bay. And our the news anchor at that time, Cheryl Jennings, God, I think she's still working, remembered your interview. And, we want, so then it was Straight Talking Teens, and it was on every Saturday at like 10 o'clock, and it was a Benetton ad. There was an Asian, there was a white girl from Marin, there was a Latino guy from, I don't know, somewhere else, and then there was a African-American student. His name was Jabali Sawiki. Oh my God, this is all coming back to me now. Who I think is like, God, I think is it. Last I remember, somebody in New York was like, wait, that guy he's like some big thing in education or something.
Oh, wow.
So hopefully none of these people have been canceled and they're all wonderful and doing well. But anyway, it was this Benetton ad. And that's what
I have to say, Benetton ad is the reference I always make when I am trying to describe a perfectly diverse group of people. That's like if you look up, diverse in the dictionary, I always say it's like a Benetton ad. And I feel like no one ever gets that reference.
No.
I'm so happy that you're making it too.
Yes. Because
we're old.
I don't know how you. I feel like there's a big age gap between us, but somehow there's a little sliver where we crossed over.
I think I'm older than you.
No, you're definitely not.
I think I might be.
No, I think you're definitely. I would bet money on it.
I don't know about that. Okay. Wait a minute. No, I know your age. We're the same age.
We are?
I might actually be a year older.
No, I'm going to be 50.
I'm going to be 50 in. Oh my God. I don't like saying that. And I'm going to be 50 in May.
No.
Mm-hmm. When are you going to be 50?
I'm going to be Oh my God. I'm going to be 50 in August. Allison, what is that filter? What is going on?
Thank you. I mean, it's just a slight zoom filter.
Allison, my goodness. Okay, we're going to have to get into that.
See, I thought you were younger, but then I remembered I had read your age. Safe to say, we both look way younger.
God.
Yeah,
okay.
Maybe it's just people on the cusp of 50 that make this reference.
Yes, I think so. I mean, there are just certain references. Like most people now have no idea what MTV is.
Interesting. Well, now, are you still the voice of Cribs? Is Cribs still on?
Yeah, well, they did a reboot during the pandemic because I think people were just like, we got to put stuff on TV. Everybody is home. And so they redid Cribs. And so I did that for quite a while. I don't know if the new season's coming on. I have no idea. It's that same team. They just text me and then
and is that just voiceover? How does that work?
Yeah. Yeah. It's voiceover and it's like the easiest. It is like putting together a meal that you've put together so many times that you don't even have to think about it. It's like, then you got to grill the bread and then you get the cheese and it's this particular type of cheese. It is exactly what it is. And maybe that's why it makes it so kind of truly great because it's not changed at all.
What's an example of something you would say on Cribs?
Well, first of all, there's like a certain Cribs voice, and there's a lot of alliteration, like banging Bayside bungalows, like these producers have to write alliterations for domiciles. That is also a word that, I mean, there are times when I'm like, boy, you guys are real. This has been going on a lot. I'm like, okay, it'll be like dangling domiciles, like they just always have to try to like find a new way of saying house, and in a fun way. So that's like a very Cribs thing. I don't know. I mean, it's just, it's just me on a lot of caffeine, trying to get through, word rhymes, word riddles. What do you call those? Like when you're
tongue twisters?
Yes, tongue twisters.
Word riddles. Also a thing.
That's the other thing. Allison, your brain is too sharp. I tell you, I am on the roller coaster of perimenopause. I cannot, and you know what? I don't even stress. At first when it was happening, I was like this is like, it would give me like a lot of anxiety. Or
oh yes, when you go to
like,
reach for one word and wrong, like three wrong ones come out.
Yeah, and you're going to the darkest places. And now I'm just like, that's whatever that word is for whatever that word is. And so yes, the word riddles, tongue twisters. So it's a very Cribs thing.
Okay, for a second, since we're talking perimenopause and age and stuff like that, when you guys were on my show or when I was on your show, it came up, or just from listening to Add to Cart, Tony, earmuffs, just kidding. You change your underwear a lot. Is this still going on? Because I have some thoughts on it since I have some thoughts on it.
You have some thoughts on it?
Yeah.
I mean, the thing about it is, Tony, when we started this podcast, I thought it was just going to be, my pitch was, let's just talk about shopping. Like what we bought this week, what we're really into. That's all I want to talk about. And then we'll just do it until nobody's listening. And somehow, I mean, right from the get-go, it just turned into the most intimate look at places where nobody should be allowed in. And during the pandemic, I don't know, I casually just said, well, I don't remember something about changing my underwear. And Koo was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, what are you talking about? What do you mean you don't change your underwear during the day? You're telling me you're just sitting in your underwear? The same pair of underwear that you got up in? And that was our first, like, I think, maybe, I don't know. That was one of our first, like, Kulop, who's my co-host, falling out of her chair and just like barely making it back on the mic. Like she just could not believe this. And yeah, I mean, I don't foresee a world where that changes. It just gets worse.
Okay, here's my question. And this is very personal. But here's what actually, I'll give you okay. I'm having a hysterectomy next month.
Uh-huh.
And there's a bit of a prolapse situation.
Okay.
So I'm going to have that repaired as well. And they grade prolapse on
what's prolapse? Is that to do with your pelvic floor?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it can be like there's a rectocele, which is where your rectum is not quite in the right place. And then there's a cystocele, which is where your bladder is not in the right place, a urocele where the uterus is not in the right place.
And this is all because of age or childbirth or
childbirth.
Childbirth,
yeah.
Okay. So that's before, by the way, before I was pregnant, I didn't have this problem.
Exactly. None of us did.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess some people could, but so anyway, the prolapse can get so bad that like essentially, like if you look on the Reddit, like pelvic organ prolapse, it's like some people, their organs are basically like outside their body. That's not how mine is at all.
Yeah.
Mine is grade 2 out of 4. And I think if I weren't going in to have surgery anyway, I probably wouldn't do anything. I would try physical therapy, but
it doesn't work. Go on.
Oh, really?
No.
Okay.
So what you're doing, I think, is probably the best, just the easiest and the quickest way to,
Well, see, I don't really have much of a bladder or whether if I have a uterine prolapse, it doesn't matter because they're yanking that one out. But like, I don't really seem to have much of a bladder prolapse, but I have the option of doing a urethral sling, or they have this thing called Bulkamed, which is like a filler that they can put in your urethra tissue, which like bulks things up. But I'm leaning toward not doing any of that at the time because I just keep reading about people who are I'm sure the vast majority of the times it goes well, but I keep reading about people who are kind of regretting it. And I feel like it's not so major that I need to address it. And it's a very quick procedure if I decide after the fact that I do want to do it. But here's my thing. I've talked about an array of body things on this show. And for some reason, I feel like embarrassed to be saying this, but the wetness, is it coming from my urethra or is it coming from my vagina? That's what I don't know, because I've been assuming it's coming from my urethra, in which case I should get one of these procedures if I'm leaking urine, but I think it might be just like vaginal juice coming out. I love it.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. I mean, stop sending people into space. Nobody fucking cares, and it doesn't make a goddamn difference. My life is not better or worse because you have sent some man into space.
Amen.
What I want to know is the wetness urethra or vaginal?
Right.
That will change the quality of my day-to-day life in a profound way. Can you answer that question? And it won't cost $48 trillion. I have a group. I have a text thread, as we all do, and I mean it. It is one of the funniest things just to read. I mean, just recently, someone wrote in the text thread. She had just gone to like a hormone specialist, and I guess the doctor was like, oh, I don't know, asked her a very benign question. And she's like, but what is a normal vagina? Like, what does a normal vagina, I don't know if I have a normal vagina or I just know the one I have. And these are the things that are,
happening.
And we were just dying. We're like, what does it feel like to have a normal vagina? Like, somebody call in here. Let us know.
Yeah.
Comment on the white dog poo. If you think you have a normal vagina,
Right. Yes,
I
let
would
us
love
know.
to know what that feels like. So I think this is, space is one thing, but this is truly the great unknown.
Do you have a sense of whether all the underwear changes are from pee or
I mean,
other stuff?
Allison, I think it varies from day to day. I think it's activity based. I have no idea. All I know
it's just a feeling
is
of I'd prefer a clean pair.
I don't like to feel like if I get something dirty, like I'm also changing my socks. Like I don't like a wet sock. Like even if a tiny toe is wet, and I don't like it. I don't, so that comes off. Like anything that feels remotely uncomfortable, is just, it's not okay. So, and I just sometimes, and this is also another thing that came out during the pandemic is like, I'm not a coffee drinker. And when I brush my teeth, I feel like I've had a shot of espresso. So like I was going through a period where I was just brushing my teeth a lot, especially during the pandemic. Like it was just like,
that's how you wake yourself up?
I got a Zoom call. Let me brush my teeth. Let me wake up. So I kind of feel like that even with the underwear. Like I just really like the feeling of very clean, dry, fresh underwear.
Same. I do too.
And the more you kind of do this now, then you're like, do you know what I mean? Like it becomes like a weird, I don't know, like a weird anxiety thing. I don't know.
Yes. Well, I think I'm like that with, I got a Zoom call. Let me just pee one more time, even though I just peed 8 minutes ago.
Yeah.
And so I'm like peeing nonstop. Well, but I'm thinking I need to pee nonstop, which is a pandemic thing. My doctor told me, or it was exacerbated by the pandemic because people are so close. They can go to the bathroom constantly. It's like we're trained. We have trained ourselves to think we need to go when there's just like a few drops or something.
Well, let me take back what I said about physical therapy. Because,
I was going to ask about that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not that I joke. Like I've tried so many things from everything but like some sort of like surgical physical intervention. And my thing is that it's all of those things that help. There is no magic pill, because if there was a magic pill, then we would all
taking
be
it. Yeah.
We'd all be like,
underwear sales would be
all
down.
you have to, it's like very complex and it's very systemic because your pelvic floor is related to everything. Everything is connected to your pelvic floor. It's like, it's really annoying like that. So, so it was helpful to a point, but I'm not saying that like when you do physical therapy that then you're walking out and you're like, I'm fixed. I got it. I'm throwing away my underwear. I'm so free. But one of the big things, and when I share this, and I feel like this isn't common knowledge, is that you should, like, we are trained as kids to be like, hey, we're about to get in the car. Okay, everybody use the bathroom, even if you don't have to go. Like one last pee is one of the worst things you can do for your bladder.
Why?
Because I don't know like the medical term for it, but basically it desensitizes your bladder so that you just basically train it to want to go to the bathroom when it's not full.
Yes. Interesting.
So like they call it bladder retraining. And one like the first big thing that you do there is that you don't go. You hold it for as long as you can, even if you have to go.
That sounds awful.
Yeah.
And it sounds like torture. Yeah. My kids. Wait, and also, Tony, are you someone who said that you never pee on a flight?
Oh no, opposite.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We had a plague of guests who claim they never pee on flights. And
That's
I was
just
like,
weird.
I feel like I need to pee. I'm that person who is annoyed, who's like, everyone's going to hate me for saying this. I'm the salmon trying to go upstream because I'm like, I gotta use the bathroom. We haven't even taken off yet. And everyone's trying to get on the plane.
Yeah, that's why.
And it's
I
like,
wait.
why didn't you go at the gate? It's like, oh no, I did that also.
Yeah, you don't understand. I go as soon. My trick is like, yeah, this is what frequent peers, like we all have this. Like my trick is as soon as the seatbelt light goes off, I run to the bathroom.
Yes.
Because they always give you like a grace minute. And by then the aisle, they've turned it on because everybody's pretty much put their luggage away. And I just like do that one thing. So I'm like, when I board a plane, all my eyes are like falcon trained on that seatbelt light. And as soon as it goes off, I run. But
Our falcons trained
these
on
are not tips. These are not, these are advisable things.
Yeah.
These are just the things that we've trained, or I don't know, like just how the worst thing about flying is the bathroom situation for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the urethral sling or the Bulkamed, both of which are to help with leaking urine.
Mm-hmm.
One of the side effects, or I don't know if it's a side effect or it's just the afterwards, it takes longer to pee because it's like the hose is much tighter. So it and you have to like relax and sort of let it come.
Ooh, that sounds scary.
That's how I feel.
I know.
Given that I
That's like
have
my nightmare.
Yes, that's why I don't want to do it, because given that I already have this anxiety of needing to pee all the time, the idea that I'm sitting down and I'm having trouble peeing.
Yeah.
So then I started thinking, and really I should be talking about this with my doctor, not
Your podcast
listeners. Yeah. But then I started thinking,
we're going to figure this out.
I think that there are women who can't do anything without leaking a lot of urine. Like they can't run, they can't.
Yeah, I think
for me, it's like I can't really do, if I do jumping jacks, there's a few drops are going to come out. It's, but it's not like gushing.
Yeah.
But I think there are a lot of people who have like a gushing urine problem.
Yeah.
And so for them, they will say, and all my research has been done in TikTok comments. They'll say like, it's, it was life-changing. It's life-changing. It's life-changing. I don't know that I'm at the level where I need this intervention because it's very mild.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, mostly I'm just afraid of not being able to pee.
Yeah, that doesn't, I don't know. I do everything just up until someone puts me under. I will take a pill. I'll squirt a cream. I will, you know what I mean? Wear a brace. I will do everything. It's something about that. That for me is like, it has to be pretty life-threatening for me to be like, yes, put me under for that.
Have you tried, because I again haven't talked to my doctor about this, but all of a sudden I'm like, wait, isn't that supposed to help? Have you tried vaginal estrogen? Isn't that supposed to help with this?
Yeah, I think so, especially at our age. And yes, I've tried everything.
Did it help?
Everything helps.
Oh, right. That's what you were saying. Everything helps a little bit.
Everything helps a little bit. It's pretty much a full-time job. keeping that lady happy down
occupied.
There.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I can't take on more work, because I have a very full-time job here, you know?
Yeah. All right. Back to your career. So you're with Straight Talking Teens. All the teens are represented.
Yes.
And then what came after that?
Well, then, you know, but I was just like, well, it was a high school job, you know, like I think I was taking home like $300 a week, which in high school back then, it's
pretty good,
a lot of money.
yeah.
I mean, most of my friends are, you know, my first job that I had was at Ardenwood Historical Farms, where I had to put a costume on and I was a page boy. And I think when I got that first check, I was like, oh, I'm not ever going back there again. You know,
What was your
That's not how this
costume?
works. I'm like, no, even then, as broke as I was like, I'm not, $4 an hour is just not enough for what you're asking me to do all day. At
What
these
was the
corporate
costume?
parties. It was like a page boy costume. So like I had like a blouson and then like knickers and like white, you know what I mean? Knee high and like these brown boots.
Oh my God, it's so festive.
My job was to, I had this like portable ice cream like cart.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, like one of those like newsboy hats. Yeah, it's pretty hot. You know what I mean? The boys were pounding on my screen.
I bet.
So yeah, compared to that, I was like, this is great, but I got to get a real job. So I thought I would be a lawyer and started college as a poli-sci major. But I kept, I would do things like work at a smoothie, smoothie shop for $8 an hour. And then every once in a while, someone would be like, oh, there's this new like morning show. Then they need someone to do a segment called Party Crashers, where you're taking a high-8 camera and crashing parties. And we'll pay you like $150 a segment. And I was like, yes. So like there was always kind of like this push and pull. And I figured I would just milk this like weird TV thing for as long as I could, save as much so that I could, pay for college and then just be a normal person. And then all of that shifted when I moved to New York, when I auditioned for a show on the Oprah Winfrey Network, OWN, when it first started. And Allison, now that I know how old you are, you may remember when it first started, it was very much like a empowered women.
Yes.
Like lots of shows about, you know what I mean? Like it's kind of like what the OWN network is now, but it was Oxygen. So I don't know what Oxygen now is. It's like I feel like it's like Bad Girls Club or something.
Right.
But it was what OWN is now. So anyway, so I did that and I got the job and I moved to New York and that thing folded after a year.
What was
also
the job?
Really great. What
was the job?
It was hosting a live talk show.
Oh, cool.
A daily live talk show. And that was like the first time I had done TV like full time and like made a living. I'd never up until that point. And so, well, how old am I? I'm probably like 20, probably like 24, and so I moved to New York, and then after a year, that dream ended. It was like an amazing run of a year of, nothing like when a startup cable network. I'm going to give you a hot tip, guys listening.
Okay.
Because I know you have a lot of entertainment folks listening. Nothing like a startup network job, because money is not real. And so it's only after like the first year or two that people are like, hold on.
Right.
How much is this costing us? Yeah. So we had this like amazing year and I was like, wow, that was the first time I was like, I really love doing this. And I think before that I was a little bit like, don't love it too much. Because like there's no way that you're going to make a living doing this. And the chances are so slim. And I'm just too much of a practical person, and coming from an immigrant family, I was just like, money isn't something to be like, can you swear on this? Like,
Yeah.
fucked around with, you know what I mean? Like you need to bring home a check to the family kind of a thing. So I was just like, so before that, I think there was a lot of that maybe I wasn't admitting to myself. And so I had this job and when that ended, I was kind of like, oh shit, I really dig this guy and I can't tell him.
You
I'm
caught
into
feelings
him.
for television.
I caught feelings. It's just like so fun, and I was living in New York. I had no intention of, I went there with a giant suitcase. We were living in a hotel. That's how much money we were burning at that point.
When you say
that,
we,
like,
when you say we, who do you mean?
so I had two other hosts. So it was three of us. The two other had never, ever been on television their entire life. So it was just fun, it didn't feel. And so when that ended, New York is a very small place. Like Viacom is, one, you know what I mean? It's just like, if you work in TV in New York, you will have worked at Viacom at some point. And so all of my producers who had lost their jobs because our show was over, were going back to freelance for MTV and Viacom. And they were like, you should come. And at that point, the timing was that Serena Outshall was leaving. So they needed a girl, just one girl. And so I, auditioned and then I got it. And then that's it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
The talk show that you did for OWN.
Yeah. Oxygen.
Oxygen.
Yeah. I misspoke.
For Oprah's.
Yeah.
Okay. What was it?
Winfrey, yeah.
Yes. What was the name of the show?
The show is called Trackers.
Trackers.
And thankfully, this is before the internet. So, I mean, maybe there's a clip or two. And I'm going to apologize in advance because, I co-hosted a 2-hour daily talk show. Let that sit in there. 2 hours daily live.
That's a lot.
Show. And I'm going to say some of my hairstyle choices maybe weren't my own. And there may be some inappropriate hairstyles that at that point, you're so tired and you're just like, one day is bleeding into the next. Where I just remember like being so exhausted from doing this, but like loving it because, you're young and you're in New York. You're like,
right.
Where the producers had to assign us to go out because we didn't have anything to talk about the next day because we had just been there. And so like they would take us in these like chauffeured cars to either like it'd be a party or a club and they'd be like, now go in there and just come up with material for tomorrow.
Come up with content. Yeah. Oh, that's so funny. That's so funny. I worked at Time Out New York. I was thinking about this recently. I worked at Time Out New York, which I described it as a sweatshop on an episode recently. But it was just very long hours and they get, newish, hungry people. So it's not good pay. Like there's probably a few people on staff there who have been there for years or who have families
like
who
MTV.
who were paid decently. But most people, it's like, this is a salary you cannot live on. And I was thinking about the fact that you work so hard there that it becomes difficult to go out and to take advantage of being in New York, but then you're expected to come up with story ideas. But if you're not out and about, if you're just doing your job in the office, then it's hard to generate these ideas. So I totally understand. But that's smart that they were like, we're going to take you out and we're going to give you a chauffeured car.
Yeah, because I mean, we didn't know, the three of us were living in a midtown hotel, all from California. I had no idea. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Barely, there was a lot of babysitting and hand holding, and they were a lot younger than I was. So if I was 24, I mean, I think one co-host was like 18, 19,
Who was the audience for this show?
So it was young. It was like their teen.
I see. It was like their straight talking teens.
Yes, it was like their straight talking teens. And we would have like actors, up and coming actors like James Franco.
Oh, yeah.
And bands, I mean, like they were just like, we have to fill 2 hours. We had a game show. I mean, it was, and like the best part is it was so new that you couldn't get it in New York. Like,
wow.
I've never seen a full show. I've seen like segments and clips, like they would give us VHS tapes. So it was kind of amazing. Like it was like doing a show and nobody cared. and nobody was watching.
Oh, it's like a podcast.
Yeah. Only a lot more money. And when I say a lot, I mean not that much money, but a lot more than podcasting.
Right.
But I remember one year I really wanted to go to Europe during our hiatus, which was the summer. And so I pitched this show, a segment idea called Sex in Europe, where we would go to these like cities, London, Paris, Amsterdam, Stockholm. Those are all the places I wanted to go. And I would look up just like any study that would give me like an outlier fact. You know, I remember London, it was like, you know, the most partners. In Amsterdam, in Stockholm, it was the least married. Like they're families, but like they just like marriage isn't a thing. And then that was like my peg. I was like, oh, we're going to just, you know, talk about sex in Europe. They were like, yeah, go for it. So I took a producer and like, you know, we just spent the summer in Europe talking to people about sex. I mean, like it was just that, you know what I'm talking about? They were like, here's the checkbook.
Right.
Just,
what do you need?
What do you need? Make it fun. Do it on your own. Just come back with something. So that was just, you know, it just doesn't exist. Nothing like that exists anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you really do a segment for something where you were party crashing?
Yeah, that was another one. And I just want to say, this was before, you know, what's that? All these prank shows like Ashton Kutcher's.
Punked.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
This is before Punked. And I have no idea how we came up with this idea. But so my producer, who from one of the teen shows that I did, she and I became really good friends. And she could do everything. She could shoot. She could edit. Like this is, again, amazing. Nobody was doing that. You had like union camera guys and then you had your producers and you're right. It was all union. But like she was just, you know, renegade. And I'm trying to think of who came up with this idea. But anyway, so we came up with this idea called Party Crashers. And we were living in San Francisco at the time when like, you know, a company called Yahoo was launching. And there was a company called Amazon that was selling books on the internet. And there was a weird guy named Craig who was doing a list. And they would have these parties where it would be like Cirque du Soleil is coming to the, you know, Amazon Christmas party. You know, there were these insane, there was so much money, Silicon Valley money. It was just at the beginning of it. And I was watching all of this happening and living in, you know, the Bay Area, not in San Francisco, I can afford that, but growing up in the Bay Area and like working in San Francisco and watching this city just like turn into, you know, Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. And so I thought it would be funny to try to get into some of these parties, truly crashing. Yeah. No invite, just kind of hearing about it, running and gunning over there. And 50% not getting in the party. Like the segment is, I didn't get in. And it was on the morning show. So like the night before we would try to get these parties, she'd like bust her ass editing it. And then at like 5 a.m, I'd roll in and be like, you know, they're like, did you get in? Well, you're going to have to find out. And, you know, they would, half of it, the sound was, you know, and it was just like, I mean, I think about, you know, I think about how much I hustled for $5 in my 20s and 30s. Like, I don't even know if they paid us for that. Like, maybe they gave us a stipend, you know, and, but yeah. And I was doing that while I was like temping at a software company in Palo Alto. So I was like selling, you know, back end software, you know, cold calling during the day. And then Kirsten and I would be like, all right, okay, there's a party, you know what I mean, in town, blah, 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 blah. Like, let's try to get in. And then I'd go there and who is that person? Like,
I think about that
hardworking, social, you know, I mean, you couldn't pay me enough money to do even one part of that entire equation. And I did that.
I was just talking about this. I think about that. I think about the like brave or headstrong or whatever it was that I was back in my very early 20s, because I would just be like, I want to work there. I'm going to find the number for the head person and I'm going to call them and explain why I should be. And like now I don't even call anyone ever. Yeah. I send an email and if they don't write back, I'm like, oh well, I tried. Yeah. Like, I mean, like the bravery to go to a party you're not invited to and hope you can get in.
With a camera.
Yeah.
With a camera.
Did it make you nervous at all?
I think it's so much adrenaline is pumping in your body at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, I don't think I like, like, of course it made me nervous, but I don't think I gave it much thought. Like I told you, I was just like, trying to leave my temp job, like rush hour traffic from Palo Alto to San Francisco in the car, changing, from like my pantsuit to like a going out top. Mm-hmm. No script and just like go and like, sussing it out. So like you're moving before you're even thinking, but did I enjoy any of it? No, I'm sure I hated every second of it and had someone stop me for a minute. But I think that, in your 20s and in your 30s, like, I don't know, there is it was, at least for me, and I don't know if you guys feel this way in building a career. It was like, especially one that doesn't have a blueprint. Like, it's not like you go to school and then you get a residency and then you did, you know what I mean? Like, there really is no clear path to do anything that we're all doing. And look at us now. Look at podcasting.
On top of the world. That's right.
On top of the podcasting world. But it just was like, there was such a like frenetic, I want to say desperation, but also just like this kind of like insatiable, like, I need to get there.
Ambition.
Like, what is that thing? And a lot of times I don't even think I knew what that thing was.
I know. Yes.
Yeah. But
I feel that way.
Like, I just know, and one thing kept, it keeps you enough. You know what I mean? Like one thing kind of led to another thing, could have been a lateral move. Like from there, that got me, producers saw me and I was one of the hosts of this, like, the longest running magazine show. Don't know if that's true. Called like, I think it was called like Evening Magazine or something in the Bay Area. And it had been on forever. And it was like, for me, that was it. Like, that was the Holy Grail. And I would, it was like Entertainment Tonight, but just for local happenings. Mm-hmm. And, so it was just enough, but it was never a full-time thing. Enough to like, let me dream.
How did you like MTV News?
I mean, like you said, like, it's so hard to enjoy those kinds of things as it's happening because you're just in such fight or flight the entire time you're there, terrified that you're not taking advantage of it enough, but terrified that you may get fired. And MTV has a very much a culture of every day you're auditioning for your job, because there's like,
so they kept
1,000 college grads,
unsure.
1,000 quote unquote VJs, just wanting to be, Jesse Camp, you know what I mean? Like, it just was never like, you never knew like they could. And so they always like kept that vibe going. And so I think I was just, I've told Kulap this on our show and she loves to just bring this up all the time. I have almost no real memories of 10 years. So, it's just like a black hole. And you know what? I've talked to Dave Holmes, who we overlapped a little bit. And it's the first time I've said that. And he was like, oh my God, it's a black hole for me too. I have no memory from being there.
So interesting.
Yeah. I just think that you're on this adrenaline, fight or flight thing for so long and you don't even know that you're there. And then when you leave, you're like, I don't know what happened. Like it was, I think it was fun.
Was it very hectic? Like
it was so hectic. It was so hectic. It was so, and everybody was under 30. So it's not like anybody knew what was going on. It was just,
even Kurt Loder?
and then Kurt Loder, but Kurt Loder, like he'd come in twice a year and smoke cigarettes in his office. You know what I mean? Like at that point, he was like, you couldn't touch Kurt Loder. You know, he didn't have to go to the morning meetings and do the live shows and, you know, or he, you know, maybe did the VMAs. You know,
Right.
he would just like roll out and be like, I'll do this. I'll interview Courtney Love and then I'm out of here, you know, or Madonna or whatever. So he was just already like, you know, that institution. The rest of us are just trying to scramble for on-air time and pitching shows. And oh my God, it was just, I was traveling all the time. I mean, of course, looking back now, like what a dream, you know, if my kids, you know, if anyone were to be like, this is what this job is, I'm like, yeah, it's gonna take its toll, but you're gonna have an amazing time, you know?
You on Instagram, you posted about an incident that happened where someone had said something racist, and that got some attention.
Yeah.
What made you decide at that point to talk about it?
Well, that was, if y'all remember, that was right after the shootings in Atlanta of at the massage parlor. I don't know if that's what it's called. And it was right during the pandemic at the absolute height of Asian American violence in this country. And it wasn't like, to be honest, until that had happened, and I was kind of scrolling through and watching how we as Asian Americans were processing it and having this thing now called social media and Instagram to process it together collectively in real time. Like that I had never had that experience before. I mean, I grew up and I had a career when, you know, it was before the internet really. And I didn't even, like, I had no idea if people were watching or not, you know, like there was just a black box, you know, TV is a black box. It's not the internet. So anyway, so, you know, I was kind of watching, processing all this, and I had kind of forgotten about that. And it was during that time, I was remembering like it really, I mean, it reshaped my whole DNA, what had happened, but I had really forgotten about it. And then I was kind of reprocessing that for the first time. And I was like, oh God, I remember that thing that happened that one year. And as I was watching all of these comments and these posts and these Asian American women especially talking about like how vulnerable they feel, how unseen, how sexualized, how all of these things. I didn't have the language for that when I was, you know, I didn't know that that's what I was feeling. And so I kind of felt like, okay, the honest truth is I felt kind of like, you know, do you ever like, okay, I've never felt this way before, but like when you're watching something happening to, you know, your family, your friends, your community, and that have given you so much, like you know, I mean, that community has basically given me my whole life, you know, and they've given, and you've taken it and kind of taken it and been like, thank you very much. And you've gone on your merry way. I really felt like it was the only way that I could give back. Does that make sense? I could contribute to this conversation in a meaningful way that I felt like, because I'd never really shared, I'm not you know I talk about my underwear. I can talk about my underwear for days. I'm not really going to tell you about my life. And also as a journalist, that's like taboo. You know, I grew up in a time when like journalists had to be blank sheets of paper. Like,
right.
We don't want to know your personal thoughts. Like that is not relevant and actually harmful to your job. And so it was really scary to do, but I felt like who the fuck am I? Like holding this in and if this could give someone a little more support, and it felt like such a minor thing. I had no idea that it was going to be like the first thing that comes up now when you Google my name. I mean, there's like typos in it. I don't post. Like, it's just not my, like, that's not where I live. And so, anyway, so yeah, so that kind of was like, to be honest, like, I don't think I've ever told anyone. I just was like, I need to leave something for someone else. Like, I've taken so much from this community over my lifetime that I don't know if that makes sense.
I think it does. Yeah. And just because someone listening might be like, wait, what are they talking about? Can you tell us what happened?
Yeah. So, God, I don't even remember how old I was, but pretty early on in MTV, there was someone at MTV who had said some really, really racist things. And, for whatever reason, I decided that day it just wasn't going to be the usual, well, these things happen. Maybe he's joking, like we all do. And that day I was just like, no, I'm done. I'm done taking this shit. And I'm done taking this shit from this person, because this person I had seen this person do this to other people, and I had never said anything because I was like, I'm just trying to keep my job here. And
when you say you do this, you mean say
terrible things,
okay.
Terrible racist things, terrible misogynistic things, homophobic things. I mean, this guy,
gotcha.
This person
ticked
was
all
like,
the boxes.
Yeah, like checks all the, and that generally, you're never talking about a stand-up person that said one thing bad.
Right.
You're talking about a person that has a history of that. And so for me, it was like all of that. And I was like, I'm done. Like, if I don't say anything, like, this is just going to go on forever. And I really did think that when I had complained and filed with HR, that person would be removed. I was like, well, duh. Like, we work in a corporation here. Like,
yeah, you can't say that. Right.
Yeah, like, obviously, like, I thought it'd be done in a week. And it was just a protracted, almost a year-long battle. And the longer it ran, the more pissed I became. And so
that they weren't taking action.
Yeah, like, I was just like, I cannot believe that we're still mediating. Mediating what? Like, this person has an HR file, this big, mediating what? Like, you've talked to everyone.
Was he valuable to the company? Were they trying to avoid a lawsuit from him?
I don't know. I think he was very valuable to the company, as much as one can be to that place. But I think also, too, it was like, it's a different time and culture. It was like, oh, a lot of it was like, you really want to mess with someone's bread and butter? Like, you really want to take away a paycheck from, this person? You know what I mean? Like, there's just a lot of, and I felt all those things. I was like, do I? Well, that's just kind of like fucked up what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Like, I struggled with that. And I talk about that. And that's kind of what, I wrote an essay about that in a collection of book stories that came out called My Life Growing Up in America, that was published during the pandemic. So I really, what I say, reshaped my DNA. That's where my DNA, like, for me today, who I am is because of that. Not only that incident, but the way that it was handled protractedly. And, this was before we all have language about Me Too and boundaries and HR, Anyway, so that's what happened. And I kind of put it away,
Did they finally fire him?
Eventually, he was let go. Yeah,
Good.
But it took a really long time.
Yeah.
Months. And, months and months of just like me not getting out of bed, because I was just like, how do I was sure I was going to get fired. I'm surprised you didn't. I'm shocked. And I feel like, too, that also changed after that. Like, it almost felt like I almost like somehow digested that I had to be even more gracious and more, forgiving, because this place had, allowed me to stay. And it created a dynamic and a relationship with media which is why I'm podcasting.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So am I hearing you right that because you stood up for yourself, it made you almost more meek afterwards?
In some ways it did. I think it took, again, I think I filed that as soon as that situation was quote unquote resolved. I was just like, okay, I'm back. Like, dear God, that was the worst. Cause I stopped coming to work because I was like, well, it's me or him,
Yeah.
and they were like, well, and I was like, well, then I guess. So I was like, oh God, they didn't fire me. I got what I wanted. I'm putting those in heavy quotes. This is like the mental mind fuck that, I think that a lot of people find themselves in these type of situations. Like, I owe them something, like I just gotta, you know what I mean? Like, I just gotta work harder now. I gotta make sure that they know that they pick the right person. You know what I mean? As if it was, my fault.
As if it was your fault. Yeah.
Yeah.
How much longer were you there after that?
Oh, years. I mean,
Okay.
I think that happened like pretty, like within the
Early.
first few years I was there, and I was there at MTV for 10 years. But that changed, that really also like altered my kind of like this love affair I was having with my, with this like life. I was like, wow, okay. It's one thing to be like doing really interesting things and traveling all over the world and like being paid to be curious about life. It's another to then work for a corporation, which is what we all do when we do that. That's the trade-off that you make. And I just was like, do I love this enough where that trade-off isn't that big of a deal? And more as I get older, the answer is no.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
So now you have 3 podcasts: Add to Cart, Uncared For, and On Set With. Tell me about On Set With.
Yeah, that's the newest one. That's in collaboration with HGTV and Max. And so this is a really fun one. So we interview very famous set designers about like iconic TV show sets. So like Friends and Game of Thrones and I'm trying to think of
White Lotus.
White Lotus. That's right. I was like, what's that show?
We played a fun game before it started.
Yeah, what's that? Okay,
I was like, I want this to go on.
Let's play this. It was about mobsters in the early 2000s. Italian
Sopranos?
family.
Sopranos?
Just Sopranos. That was another set that we did. Anyway, so we talk about all of these like iconic sets and really fun seeing how like they make those things feel like, and these are it's Friends. You know what I mean? Like these aren't like, oh, I think I saw that indie film about the mother wolf. These are like huge, like they built the actual ice wall in Game of Thrones. Like that's an actual structure. What?
That's so cool. Is that video and audio or just audio?
Just audio. Yeah.
That's
just
interesting.
audio. Yeah.
So then you're like, you're describing the sets.
You're
for the
describing
people.
it. I mean, I would love for them at some point to, how cool would it be to do like a clip thing. I told them, I was like, after hearing these set designers talk about it, I'm like, I want to see what their homes look like.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, can we go home with them? Like, what does the person who creates, the White Lotus world, like, what's their kitchen look like?
I want it to turn out that their kitchen is so basic and standard, and it's like
I don't think
cobbler's kids' shoes kind of thing.
Yeah, I think it's like a Nancy Myers. Is that her name? Something.
Oh yes.
Like I
Nancy Myers'
imagine her
kitchen.
house looks like every Nancy Myers film that has ever. You know what I mean? Like I feel like these people live in the worlds that they create in some ways. Anyway, so that was just really fun. I will do anything if it like drops me into a world.
Yeah, that's so cool. And then Uncared For is about what?
Uncared For, we just, our second season just aired. And it's really about the sexy topic of the healthcare industry. but I will make it sexy. So the first season we did was on maternal health and really about like, we traveled all over the world and looking at like, where are mothers dying? Where are babies thriving? And how do they do it differently? And we've all heard this, like in Amsterdam, you get a box when you go home, and this box is filled with a blanket and a bottle and diapers and formula. You know, I love it. And then here in America, they're like 48 hours, bitch.
You get a bill.
Yeah. Hope that milk comes in. Good luck. You know, keep that thing alive. You know, they come someone comes for a year. A nurse comes to your house every year. Like, you never leave. You never have to go to the thought of a new mother going to a doctor's appointment. It's like, they're like, why would they do that? Like, that doesn't make no sense. So they come, they weigh the baby, they answer questions, they show you how to bathe and clip their nails, all these things that Allison, you and I were like in a
winging it.
Yeah. I came home, I remember my son, he was slightly jaundice. Again, I have no idea what that means. And I don't even know if that's life threatening, but like, just like the schedule of feeding that I was on to try to get him not green.
Right.
You know, and anyway, so just thinking about that makes me so mad. So we did that, and that was like incredible. And I actually interviewed my postpartum doula. And we had this great conversation about our time together, and then this like terrible thing that happened to her while she was pregnant, which is so mind-blowing. Anyway, so I do that. So then the second year, we were like, what should we do? I'm like, for me, my journey in my 50s is, and I know you can relate, is taking care of aging parents. Like, that's it. I'm like raising my kids and trying to figure
sandwich
out
generation.
The sandwich. Right. And we're trying to figure out what with my parents. And so the second year was really on elder care. And we talked to a bunch of people. Oh my God. We talked to a woman who works in elder care and went completely bankrupt taking care of her father. And she knows all the rules. She knows how it works. Even she couldn't figure out financially how to do it. We talked to someone who, I mean, it's just incredible stories. So anyway, so that's uncared for. And it's, again, like, podcasting is interesting because, for better or worse, like, it just forces you to be as intimate and personal. And it's something about just sitting in front of this mic without cameras and lights. Like, you just forget, right? That you're telling someone about, you know, is it urethra wet or is it bladder wet? You know, and you're like, do I want people? Okay, I guess so.
Well, see, that's the problem, is that or very rarely do I think, do I want people to know that or not? If I did think that, I don't think I would be doing this.
I didn't think I'd be doing this for this long, because I think that every time we record, I still have like, we don't have to air that. Nobody will miss it. We will not, there's not going to be, you know, the Super Bowl won't, you know, come to a halt. You know, if we don't air that.
Oh, yeah. I have people on the show who will say to me things like, if I have any doubt about it, I'll just cut it out. Or like, if it's anything I'm wondering about, I'll just edit it.
And you don't have that instinct.
No, I think because
Tony's like, we really should probably consider that.
No, I think because I was a print journalist for so long, I just have this real, like, if it's said in front of a mic or in front of a tape recorder, in front of a reporter, in front of a notebook, then it's, you know, fair use. And also that, like, there's something sort of artificial about cutting things out. And I have come a long way and changed my mind about that. Like, if a guest asks me to take something out, at the beginning I would do it, but I always felt like kind of like annoyed about it. And now I just like, that's just a part of it, you know?
Yeah.
And also I think it can create a better product or a better listening experience if you are trimming some of the fat, which I don't ever do, but I get that that would be a good thing. But I just have this idea. It's like a binary in my head of like
old school,
organic
like,
is better. Yeah.
journalism. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Like I would never be like if you work in a newsroom. I mean, I don't know what newsrooms are like now, but I was raised.
I think
like,
they don't exist.
You don't get to see the questions beforehand.
Right.
You don't you don't get final edit.
No.
And MTV, was a lot of like, well, we'll give you this celebrity, we'll give you Britney Spears, but you can't ask about her, whatever. And it's like, well, then we can't do the interview. Like, I literally cannot do the interview. That's not the way it is now.
Oh, it is such a like balm to my soul to hear you say that stuff because I feel
that's how
like
we
it's
grew
such
up.
a relic.
Yes.
And also I have a Substack, AllisonRosen.substack.com.
Substack.
That's right. Was that a different one?
No.
Let's hear it again.
Substack.
There we go. It sounded different to me. That's so weird. Yeah, I have a Substack and I was writing about this thing that a sort of conflict I got into with a publicist many years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But I was explaining that back then there was, I think, a bit of an adversarial relationship between a journalist, specifically like a music journalist. I was writing about music, like a journalist and a publicist.
Yeah.
And then I was talking to a friend of mine who, a male music reporter.
Yeah.
And I was like, did you also feel that way? And he said no, because he felt like the way it was set up was it was these like cute female publicists and most writers were male. And there was this very flirty kind of, I'm putting a little bit of words in his mouth, but it was like set up, like there was a very friendly relationship between them. Did you feel that there was a bit of an adversarial? I know I've just asked you a question and now my voice is still making sound. I need to end this sentence. What I'm trying to say is not all the time. Sometimes it was a very friendly relationship, but sometimes I did feel it was adversarial and that the publicists, they had this paranoid feeling about the press.
Yeah. Agreed. I mean, I think for me at MTV, it was always, it's interesting, like the bigger, generally, okay, you have three types of relationships and artists. You have the up and coming artist whose publicist is such a pain in the fucking ass. And that artist is a pain in the fucking ass because they think that they, because they've done a few things, and so you get like this weird, I always found like the smaller artists were much more difficult. Then you get the huge artists, right, that also have a pain in the ass publicists because they need that. You like those
huge,
are real publicists. Like those people, you know what I mean? Like can run countries, like they are like without a doubt. So that relationship was very different because it's like there was such an incredible respect there for this person because that person is like who's that kid holding the dam together.
Oh yeah, the
and
boy
you're
with
just-
his finger in the dike.
finger in the dike kind of a thing. And then you have the middle, which is like famous, but not like, you know what I mean? Tom Cruise, right?
Right.
But, and are lovely, super professional. Publicists are great. You know what I mean? They still need the press. They show up on time. They do their job. And the thing with musicians, which I find very interesting, actors less so, but musicians, because they're not actors, they just make their music, is that they'll show up to an interview and not want to be interviewed. I would say 50%. And I always wondered, like, what the fuck did you think we were going to do?
Yes,
Play
I wonder that
Monopoly?
too.
Like,
what goes
what are you
on
doing
your
here?
side of it?
Just cancel it. Cancel it. I would have canceled it. We could have both gone on our ways. What are we doing here? And it's so, you know what I mean? So that's to me was a spectrum of publicists like that I would have to deal with. I always I didn't mind dealing with like the bigger artists, publicists. It was always the smaller ones. I was like, oh God, if you only knew how much we don't care.
Right. This level of controlling you're trying to do
just
is
like,
so...
there's not that this isn't gonna be breaking news. I just want to know, So, yeah, but but we both grew up in a time when journalism was very, very like much more adversarial than not. Because,
Right. Yes.
Yeah, we're not here to play the game, but
Right.
it's
We're here
different
to
and
report the truth.
and yeah, it's not that way anymore.
Do you remember
Yeah.
when Megan Jasper of Sub Pop, who I've met and she's very nice, gave an interview to, I want to say it was like the New York Times or the Washington Post, about, they were doing an article on the rise of grunge. And she gave them a grunge lexicon that was totally fake. It was like hanging on the flip flop, which meant something.
Yeah.
And I forget what the other ones were. And they
they
just
ran with
printed it. Yes. And I always felt like that. I'm coming off as a good nerd right now. I always felt like that was such a fucked up thing to do because I, having be on this, as the reporter in so many situations, I am familiar with the dynamic of the person, like you're talking about, the person you're interviewing doesn't want to be interviewed. So they just decide they're just going to fuck with you and they're going to give you a bunch of fake answers. And so I know that a lot of people felt like that was heroic what she had done.
Yeah.
But I felt like, why did you fuck with this guy?
Yeah.
Maybe he sucked. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I did not agree that it was heroic. I thought it was shitty.
Let's call her. Let's get her on
Let's
this.
call her up.
pod.
Yeah. No, like I
Okay?
said, I
Let's
remember
rewrite history.
she's nice. But, you know what? That was that like punk rock ethos
Yes.
that was part and parcel of that moment. So I appreciate that. It made for good music. But
Yeah,
it
like
just-
she kept it real.
That's right. Okay, goodness. I'm looking at the time.
Yep.
All right. I think we should do Just Me or Everyone.
Okay.
Sometimes I ponder on something I have thought or done. Is it just me or everyone?
All right. SuChin, do you happen to have one?
Well, I'm a little embarrassed.
There's no need. Aren't we past that?
Are we?
I think we are.
I don't know. The listeners may be like, okay, now I turn it off. Because when I was thinking about this, you emailed the other day and you said, hey, we're doing this thing, blah, blah, blah. And I said, okay, let me think about it. And the thing that just popped into my head is, oh God, I guess I'm just going to say it. Is pee related. And
Oh, perfect.
I didn't know we were going to go down the underwear route. And this is the thing. It always comes back to pee with me. And I always
Same.
think it won't. And that's where I'm going to do better as I go into my 50th year.
Just
on this
knowing
earth.
and accepting.
Yeah, it's just knowing and accepting. And I'm scrambling, trying to think of like, oh, come on, you can think of one other thing. But anyway, okay, I shared this with name drop on Add to Cart, Jonathan Van Ness, who revealed this to me. And I was like, oh my God, I do that too. And I did, and we're both of us were like, we've never met anybody else that did that.
I can't wait.
Tony, I have to put my hand on your face because I feel so bad. I feel so bad that you have to sit through this.
You don't understand what I've put him through. It's fine.
I've
This is
worked for
nothing.
Allison. Yeah, I've worked for Allison for what, 5 years now. So
It's been a while, yeah.
Now you've got two Allisons to try to figure out.
Double the Allison.
Yes, where we count our pee.
Oh, I can't believe you're so embarrassed about that. That's downright
I'm embarrassed about
quaint.
it. Let's say the context of this entire episode has been about my underwear. But like when you pee 1,000, 2, 1,000.
I don't do that.
I know.
Oh, you count the length. I didn't know if you were saying you counted how many times
pees? No,
or
how long?
The length of the stream.
Interesting.
What is your average?
Well, I'll tell you, a healthy average should be above 10.
What?
Good luck, either one of you.
Oh, my
Maybe Tony
God.
has an above 10. 10 is a long time.
I think my
Yeah, I
husband
don't think
does.
so.
Yeah.
I think my husband
Like
does.
men generally have,
my
less,
son too, probably.
Yeah.
One of my
So
sons, yeah.
It's above 10 is like, that's like where you really want to be. And I'm like at a very steady 6.
I'm going to have to go count. I feel like I'm at like, okay, let me
The
think
thing
about
is,
this.
Tony and Allison, I may have
I think
just
I'm at like a
changed your
4.
life. Because I don't know that maybe, I mean, you may now have be counting peas for the rest of your life. And I don't know
I think I will
whether
be.
to apologize or not, but
Or say you're welcome.
I don't know. But it was just really, it's just something I've been doing it for years, and some weird little fact that I learned probably 20, 30 years ago. And then I started and I've lost the way, and now I just count. But I count a lot. I do a lot of counting. I count to go to sleep. I count my steps. I count
to go to sleep. I count to go to sleep sometimes too. Where do you start? Because I'll go, okay.
And
you
go
started at 100.
I go 100, 99, 98.
Oh, that's good. I go backwards from 800. I don't know why. But I never get very far. I also
I don't get far either, but I don't get far because I'm sleeping, because I don't sleep. Are you an insomniac?
I am.
Yes.
I used to be. It has changed for me since I had kids. So I'm not really anymore, but I used to be. But
Tony and I could do a whole Substack on sleep. I could feel like, because if you meet a non-sleeper, that's like a 4-hour in the corner. The party is happening around you, and like lights are coming up, and we're still talking about, well, have you tried this? Have you tried that? What about this? Anyway, so
the reason I never get very far though is not because I fall asleep. It's because my mind starts wandering. Like I start having dreams.
Yes. And that to me is like better. I almost do that because I know I'm not going to sleep. I almost do that to keep my mind from going through my to-do list.
Yes.
Because when I count, then it kind of is in this phase, you know what I mean? Like I've like preoccupied the hamster in the wheel, so that it just becomes like, oh, do I love chocolate pretzels or do I like yogurt pretzels? And is that the same? Because it tastes the same, so then that'll give me a lot less stress than like, oh my God, I forgot to email and text and anyway.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm a counter.
You really don't sleep?
No, never have, even as a child.
Interesting.
What about you, Tony? Did you sleep as a child? Because child sleep, that's the phrase, isn't it? What is it?
Sleep like a baby?
Yes, sleep like a baby.
Yeah, I feel like I used to have no problem, and then just the older I've gotten, the harder time I had, and just like I think it's just the anxiety has gotten worse the older I get, and now it's just this stupid brain doesn't turn off, but it's not thinking about anything useful.
Yeah.
Are you tired all the time, SuChin? Do you take naps?
Oh, me?
I
was answering for Tony. I was like, of course he's tired all the time. You don't sleep. But like, I'm not I can do like a 20-minute, and I do almost every afternoon, I do a 20-minute nap. I wish I could do just a little bit more. I'd love like a 40, but it's 20, bing, my eyes open. Cause you know what I did? One of the biggest things that I did that kind of changed, like helped me deal with this better, is I did TM. I did transcendental meditation.
Oh, I want to do that
ago.
sometime.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. And I don't know if they would say use it to nap, but that's what I do. And when I asked my TM coach, I was like, I can't make it through that meditation without falling asleep. She said, well, that's what your body needs. So I run with that. So I do the TM in the afternoon, and it's like when I don't have that afternoon, and I schedule it in like a meeting. If I don't have that, it's like 6 o'clock is
tough.
Is just, I'm a nasty, mean, cruel, cheap, old hag.
I love that cheap got thrown in here.
Yeah.
Without your meditation, those purse strings are yanked.
Yeah. You're like, no, you can't get that slime. You have enough,
and speaking of things to purchase, let's do Podcast Pals product picks.
Podcast Pals product picks.
I mean, I realize this is kind of what you do on your podcast.
I was like, this is my podcast called Add to Cart. All you'll hear are
right.
I don't we don't know if this is going to air on video or not, but I came to show you guys my product pick.
Let's see.
I have been obsessed with skincare, but I'm obsessed with sunscreen. And I went to Korea just on this trip, and I went to go get my face lasered because that's what you do in Korea. And the dermatologist there was like, "Oh, do you use sunscreen?" And like it shook me to my core because I there's not a day that goes by that I don't put on sunscreen and reapply. Like I'm crazy about it. I have sunscreen in every like binkies,
Right.
Everywhere that I could possibly be. There's a tube of sunscreen, and I was like, "Wow." This is
that they would think that you might not.
That my face was so sun damaged. They were like, "Do you use sunscreen?" And I was like, "Huh." So a friend put me onto this, and it's a Korean product, and I think like maybe golfers use it at first. So for anyone that is outdoors, I'm talking hiking or walking. I mean, I do it because in California you're in your car all the time, and that window is a magnifier. So it's an invisible shield that you apply on your face. I have it on now on this side.
I can't even tell. It's
It
invisible.
is completely blocking it's almost like the material you have when you're wearing a shirt that's like a UPF shirt. It's like that technology.
Is it a liquid? Is it or cream?
No, it's literally a patch. And
I've heard of these.
Yeah, I have it on my face. I can't even find the edge of it. And I follow
an influencer who was like experimenting
and
with
I
these.
do have to say I've tried other patches. Like this thing is so invisible and so melded to my skin that it's going to take me a minute to even find the edge of it to peel off. But I've tried other brands. I've tried a few and they all suck except for this one brand that I got and that I'm wearing right now. I can't even grab the edge of it. I wanted
over
to peel
or
it off
under
for
makeup?
you. Huh?
Over or under makeup?
You wear it on clean skin and then you put everything on top of it.
And it goes on just fine.
Yeah.
All the makeup
it's here.
does. Yeah, I can't even tell.
I don't even know. And you don't know what you're wearing it because it's so thin. It's almost like, you know what it's like? It's like wearing a face mask that you peel off.
Mm-hmm.
But it's even thinner than that because you don't. So here it is. I'm taking it off now.
She's peeling her face off. Amazing.
And I'm peeling
it's like stretchy. This is sort of
off,
satisfying.
and that's it. And this thing goes and you don't have to reapply sunscreen, and it has changed the game for me.
I want to change my game with that.
Yeah.
So what is it called?
It's this brand FRANZ, Franz.
Mm-hmm.
And you can look it up, and it's like if you put like Franz UPF sun face shield. Something like that. And I just think that for like super active people, super sporty people, I'm none of those things. But I'm in a car all the time and I'm obsessed with my skin. So like even like when I go on walks and I live in Santa Barbara, it's always sunny. Like it's just like reapplying is sometimes you either forget or whatever. But with this I know like okay. So
yeah.
I'm wearing this
my God.
pretty much every day.
I'm going to try that. Is that available on Amazon? Do you know? Okay. Then find it in amazon.com/shop/Allison Rosen. Over 130 recommendations from podcast guests are in there. So go check it out, especially around this time of year. Now, granted, as we record, I don't know if when you hear this, you're going to be like, I need a holiday gift for someone, or if when you hear this, you're like, I want to get a really early start on next year's shopping because this could air after Christmas. I don't know. But the point is you need this sunscreen year round. Which face laser did you get?
Oh, all of them.
You got all of them?
I got all of them. I was like, give me all of it. I told you I'll do anything short of.
So you did multiple lasers in Korea?
Yeah, but I'm not a dermatologist. I don't know if this is how you're supposed to do it in Korea. Because I've never done that before. Because here it's cost prohibitive.
Yeah.
There it's like you go in and they're like, all right, we'll do 6 lasers.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And they're like, and it'll be $70.
Yeah, and it's like some stupid amount, and and it was like insane. But the thing about it is, I'm noticing now is that like I just wasn't made to have perfect skin because the maintenance, forget about it. Forget about it. You know what? I was like, keep it. Keep your glass skin. I'm just going to be fine here on my sandpaper route because it's just a lot of work.
Yeah.
And I just don't want to, I just like don't want to put that much work into it. And I feel like I put a lot more work than most, like the average person. And I'm like, and on top of that, you want me to do what? So it was, I don't know. Like, I kind of feel like it was, it was really great. But if you don't live in that country where every 4 months or so you can go up for like a new face, your old face comes back. Guess what? Here she is.
Right. Me again. SuChin, it was so nice having you on the show. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we got into it. She peeled back all the layers.
Literally, you peeled back a layer. Tell everyone where they can find you.
I'm only 2 places at SuChin Pak on that's not how you pronounce my name, but anyway, it's SuChin Pak on Instagram and at to Cart Pod, which is where we are on our podcast.
Wonderful. And everyone listen to Add to Cart and Uncared For and On Set With. Tony, what about you?
Not much happening right now. I'll have more coming up soon, but Instagram at Tony Thaxton. That's about it.
Wonderful. And I already mentioned my Substack, AllisonRosen.substack.com.
Substack.
And then also I have a Patreon. Patreon.com/AllisonRosen. You can get behind the scenes content. You can get the Friend Zone. That is my Patreon bonus podcast. There's a level where you can text me and I'll text you back. I do daily morning updates, which I was like, it seems like a lot. And people might be like, is there a higher level where I can pay you to leave me alone? But so far, everyone really likes it and I'm enjoying it too. Patreon.com/AllisonRosen. And
Amazon. I can't
that's right.
wait. That's the second we log off. I'm going onto your Amazon page.
Amazon.com/shop/AllisonRosen, podcast, pals, product picks. Yeah, you can look at 130 plus or something items. And then I have new merch and all that. Go to AllisonRosen.com for all of that. Thank you so much, listeners. Thank you for listening. I love you. You matter. Goodbye.
Bye.
Hey, do you know about the Allison Rosen Show?